Yet another year and yet another iPad Pro. How much can Apple's latest slate improve in less than a year? We'll get to that in a moment. Hey guys, welcome to Product Review Hub. In today's video, we'll be talking about Apple's latest iPad Pro, the M1 iPad Pro 2021. If you're new here, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive more videos like this. When it comes to premium tablets, Apple doesn't have much competition. The iPad, particularly the iPad Pro, remains in a league of its own. Even Windows tablets can compete. And the new iPad Pro makes it even more difficult for the competitors. Apple's new iPad Pro is the best tablet it has ever produced. It may have the same appearance as its predecessor, but there are significant improvements to evaluate it on a higher level. It's still available in space gray or silver, has a thickness of 5.9 mm, and weighs 682 grams or 1.4 kgs, with the Magic Keyboard attached. The smaller 11-inch model weighs 468 grams without the Magic Keyboard and 1.1 grams with it. You have a pair of cameras in the back corner in a square raised housing similar to the one found on Apple's iPhone 12 line of smartphones. It is flanked by the tablet's LiDAR scanner, which is used to measure objects with the iOS Measure app and some AR apps. Also on the rear are 3 metal contacts for keyboard attachment, while around the edges you'll find a single Thunderbolt 3 port. The volume and power buttons in the upper left corner if you have the tablet in landscape orientation, plus 4 speakers grills on the iPad Pro's quad speaker array. There's also a magnetic strip on top when it landscapes and holds the second generation iPad Pencil, which also charges right there. The M1 processor and the mini LED screen, which is exclusive to the 12.9-inch model. The 11-inch model uses a more traditional IPS display, are the two main highlights here, but there's also a Thunderbolt 3, USB 4, 5G support for cellular models. An upgraded front camera that tracks you and keeps you in the frame during video calls. Surprisingly, the list is lengthy. The new iPad Pro M1 12.9-inch starts at £999, $1,099, or Australian dollars 1,649, with 128 GB of storage, though you can upgrade it to 256, 512, 1 TB, or 2 TB with a corresponding step in price. The M1 processor in the 1 TB and 2 TB versions includes 16 GB of RAM, whereas the M1 processor in the 3 smaller versions has 8 GB of RAM. There's no other way to change the RAM amount. That price is for the Wi-Fi only model. 5G connectivity can be added to any of these models for an additional £150, $200, or Australian dollars 250. The bezel on the new M1 iPad Pro is slimmer, and the tablet as a whole is significantly smaller than the first and second generation 12.9 models. Despite this, the screen remains the same size. The iPad Pro is available in 2 sizes, 11 and 12.9 inches. The latter is the model to look out for this time around, as it features new display technology and Apple refers to it as a Liquid Retina XDR display. It is probably the most compelling reason to upgrade to this machine. The new iPad Pro M1 retains the same 600 nit brightness as the previous model for general use, which helps to preserve battery life. It would have been nice to be able to draw right outside the 1000 nits of brightness cutting through the sunlight and keeping everything clear, but 600 nits isn't anything less than respectable. As usual, accuracy is flawless, and the quality of color reproduction appears to be enhanced only by the direct application of a very even backlight. Of course, the resolution is sufficient to allow you to work in fine detail. It's also encouraging to see the improvements to the display that don't come at an expense of battery life, as they might have if Apple has chosen OLED over Mini LED. The M1 iPad Pro 12.9 inches will last as long as 11 hours 35 minutes while watching videos. It's not as good as the MacBook Air, which can last up to 14 hours and 40 minutes while watching videos, but that's not surprising given the iPad's battery is 40.9 WHR compared to the MacBook Air's 49.9 WHR. Given the difference in battery size, the M1 iPad Pro 12.9 performs about as well as you'd expect, perhaps even a little better. More intensive tasks will see you reaching for the included USB-C chargers soon, between 6 and 8 hours if you're gaming or using apps that demand a lot of GPU and CPU power. Recharging is no different from the 2020 model. After 30 minutes from empty, the battery will have reached 18%. A full charge takes about 3 hours, so it's not particularly fast. Apple includes a truly impressive speaker array in the iPad Pro M1 with drivers in all 4 corners that adjust their output based on which way you hold it to achieve the best balance and a solid stereo effect. Obviously, most video and audio professionals will have their own set of headphones, but it's comfortable to know that you'll need to show off your work to someone else real quickly, and they'll hear it in good quality. Of course, it's also great for watching videos while doing the dishes. Face ID is the iPad Pro's primary biometric authentication method, and it works as well as it ever has. The camera itself, on the other hand, has been improved with the addition of a feature called Center Stage. During video calls, Center Stage uses the new 10.8 megapixel, 105-degree ultra-wide front camera to keep your face in the center of the frame. It works well, panning left, right, up and down as you move around, and the range of movement it can track is impressive. It's amazing how far off-center you can move while still remaining in frame. That's great, but the image quality is disappointing. Colors look good, and the camera's HDR capabilities help it cope with the extremes of bright-dark in the frame. But there's plenty of image noise, no doubt amplified by the fact that the center stage tracking only makes use of part of the sensor at any particular time. The dual rear cameras have received a couple of minor improvements. Better image processing thanks to the M1, and the LiDAR sensor can now be used for faster autofocus, which makes a significant difference in low light. You might get a 12 megapixel wide angle and a 10 megapixel ultra wide camera, which are both good for a tablet. The lone port on the new iPad Pro has been upgraded. It is now not only USB-C but also Thunderbolt 4. This, combined with the faster internal storage and the M1 speed for connecting with extremely high-speed accessories, should benefit photographers and videographers the most. You can now connect not only to your RAID, but also to external displays with resolution of up to 6K, though external display support is still awkward and limited. Apple has made significant progress with the iPad OS in recent years, and it's no longer a chore to do serious work on. With the Files app, you can now perform simple file transfer operations, as well as copy and paste data from external storage. There are also a lot of heavyweight apps available on the platform, ranging from professional photo editing apps like Photoshop and Affinity Photo to high-end video editing packages like Luma Fusion. You can even connect a mouse and keyboard to it and use it like a regular computer. The iPad Pro M1 is unsurprisingly extremely powerful. It doesn't just blow other tablets out of the water, it sends them into a slightly soggy orbit as well. It is a processor with 8 cores. The GPU is also at the same level as a light laptop GPU, better than almost any integrated GPU, but not as good as a discrete option. However, unless you have alien friends who give you out-of-this-world technology, you'll never see a discrete GPU in a 6.4mm body. So what's the point of all this power? Some applications can make use of it. Affinity Designer, for example, is designed to use as much power as possible. So as you add complexity to it, it'll simply apply more combined CPU and GPU power to ensure that it never slows down. What the M1 provides in headroom for the iPad to get more and more ambitious, but this means that right now, the number of people who really take advantage of it is low, and it may not be for the lack of trying by users. The only thing that might prevent you from using an iPad for full-time work is the fact that it still lacks proper external monitor support. While you can connect a second screen to the iPad's Thunderbolt 3 port, your only display option right now is to mirror what's on the iPad screen. There's no way to increase the available space and spread apps across 2 screens as you can with a MacBook or a Windows 10 laptop. The fact that Mac OS's sidecar features allow MacBooks and iMacs to use an iPad as a second monitor just adds salt to the wound. This may change as Apple updates iOS in the coming months and years, but for the time being, it's a significant barrier to iOS, and by extension, the iPad's professional aspirations. The Apple Pencil 2 remains unchanged and performs admirably here, and the 120Hz screen contributes to the best responsiveness possible. Our only real complaint is something that hasn't changed from the previous model. The feel of the pencil tip when it hits the glass is very hard, which isn't particularly pleasant when compared to the softer plastics found on the drawing tablets. However, this is not a reason not to purchase it. The Magic Keyboard remains one of the best and most expensive accessories on the market. It costs as much as $250, it's an excellent keyboard, and having the trackpad option is extremely useful for a variety of apps, not the least of which is text editing, which we all have to do on a regular basis. So it's a good quality of life improvement, but it is just too expensive for the keyboard case with no intelligence of its own, especially since it isn't a particularly adaptable case, lacking any good portrait support, or a low angle for drawing. The cost would be unjustified, but the experience is so good that it can get away with it. It's simply the best option if you need the flexibility of turning your iPad Pro into a laptop-like device when necessary. And the new white model looks great with a silver pad. The iPad Pro M1 is the best tablet available, as well as one of the best creative tools on the market. There's no doubt about it. The video performance is superior to anything else in its class, and in fact superior to most dedicated monitors, despite its small size. The M1's power makes it an extremely future-proof tool. Whatever possibilities exist on the iPad in the future, the Pro will be able to handle them. The Thunderbolt 4 port only serves to amplify this. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to watch more videos like this. While you're here, click on any of the other 2 videos on your screen and I will